Lambert, now that I'm holding 50 million bucks, I think we need to talk about that raise again.
25 cents an hour and not a penny more.
Deal.
Well, here we are. Ubisoft Forward has come and gone. The event was by all means a showstopper in several ways, with Assassin's Creed Valhalla and Watch Dogs Legion all looking great with plenty of their elements we've come to expect from those franchises seemingly turned up to 11. This was largely to be expected though. Other than Hyper Scape and perhaps a couple other things mentioned, the show was indicative of Ubisoft's predictable lack of interest in much risk-taking or willingness to revisit its massive catalog. While this isn't much of a surprise for anyone who's been paying attention to Ubisoft over the past few years, that doesn't make it any less of a disappointing facet of the direction in which Ubisoft has been going for the last several years. Now, there's nothing objectively wrong with largely sticking to the same open-world franchises per se, as plenty of gamers seem to like them and they seem to be keeping the company profitable. But for those of us who were hoping to see something a little different as we barrel towards the next generation, the show left us feeling a tad unsatiated.
Get back in your cell!
The truth is, there are tons of IP that Ubisoft could pull from their repertoire that would round out their offerings much better than a new Overwatch clone would. Most notably, and I feel like a bit of a broken record here, Tom Clancy's Splinter Cell. Seriously, still nothing? To dust off your memory a bit with a reminder, the last Splinter Cell game was in 2013. Splinter Cell Blacklist launched on the PlayStation 3, Windows 360, and Wii U. Most who played it had a favorable opinion of it overall. While the graphics were fairly unremarkable for the time, its nice blending of co-op missions into the plot, mission variety, and above-average story made it the best game in the series for many longtime fans. That said, it didn't sell extremely well, and it was regularly beat out by Saints Row 4. Given that Blacklist failed to meet sales expectations by quite a lot, it's understandable that Ubisoft decided to try new things for a while. This is around the time the original Watch Dogs was getting closer to launch. Rayman was back and doing pretty well, and Assassin's Creed was doing what Assassin's Creed specialized in back then, by giving players roughly the same game every year and raking in the dough regardless. From a purely financial perspective, there probably weren't a lot of good reasons to allocate resources to Splinter Cell, a franchise that recently underperformed while all this success and excitement was radiating from these other franchises. So, given all of that, it's understandable that Sam Fisher would need to sit the next couple plays out. All of that said, 2014 was 6 years ago. The gaming landscape and the general appetite of the average gamer is notably different now. Even Ubisoft themselves seems to understand the shift in the tide by changing up their flagship franchises significantly since then. This is a good thing on Ubisoft's part, but if we are all in agreement that the gaming landscape is different now, then why is Splinter Cell still banished to live in the basement because of a game that undersold by a few million copies the better part of a decade ago? It certainly seems like a strange omission at this point, that certainly gets stranger the longer it goes on. All while this is happening, the void of military espionage games led by charismatic Special Forces icons that was exacerbated after Metal Gear Solid 5 released continues to sit there, getting deeper, wider, and more apparent as time goes on. Unless Sony Bend is secretly working on the next Siphon Filter game, this void is Ubisoft's to fill, if they choose to do so. The problem is, it's a void that only an iconic character like Sam could fill. Nomad from Breakpoint is fine for what he is, but he isn't enough for this. We need one of the big boys here. Gabe Logan, Solid Snake, Sam Fisher. Hell, I would even take Rico from Killzone at this point. Just somebody with a personality and some dimension that can carry a plot and a character arc. Like I said though, with most of the studios responsible for these characters likely working on other things for the foreseeable future, the opportunity to make a splash with the next Splinter Cell at this year's Ubisoft event was totally squandered. Whether that was on purpose or on accident is immaterial, since either way, this is just Ubisoft leaving attention and sales on the table for now. Despite the growing hunger for a new adventure in the Splinter Cell series, we have essentially gotten nothing over the past several years. If you go digging around online to find signs of hope, odds are the best thing you'll come across is a quote from 2017 of the CEO of Ubisoft saying that while they aren't forgetting Splinter Cell, they, quote, don't have anything specific to share at the moment, but teams are working on different things, so stay tuned for more, which is about as informative as him saying nothing. As more years pass with no new information, that particular quote sounds even more hollow. That being said, an Italian gaming website, multiplayer.it, does seem to have a lead on something, with the Sam Fisher Italian dubber saying he's, quote, sure Splinter Cell is returning, unquote, and seeming to insinuate that it's closer than we might think. It's hard to say where Splinter Cell is at this point in terms of a potential new game, with Ubisoft having so many subsidiaries underneath them all likely toiling away on something, and the Italian dubber seemingly confirming its existence. It does seem like the odds are good that something is in the oven, but at the same time, it's hard to say how far off we are from getting back into Sam Fisher's shoes. Whatever amount of resources are being dumped into Splinter Cell at this moment could very well be microscopic compared to what's being done with other things. If they had something to show, you would think Ubisoft Forward would have been the time, and it really is surprising that this opportunity came and went with zero news about anything Splinter Cell related. Of course, it's always important to remember that COVID-19 is the ultimate wild card here and could easily cause a delay in any project regardless of where it's at. One thing is for sure, with gamers these days enjoying their revivals, reboots, and various heroes of yesteryear coming back as badass grandpas, it's hard to see this Ubisoft Forward as anything other than the opportune time for Sam to come out of the retirement home and do something. As such, it felt like a missed opportunity to not see him there. I'm sure Ubisoft has their reasons, whether it's a lack of talent, too many other things on their plate right now, COVID-19, or if they're just still feeling the sting of only selling 2 million-ish copies of the last game all those years ago. It's obviously their call to make, and by all means, I don't want to take anything away from the games that were there, as they all looked interesting in their own ways. But realizing that, best case scenario, Splinter Cell is still mired in mystery of any form is, for now, a disappointment. That's it for this video. If you enjoyed and would like to see more, feel free to hit that subscribe button and hit the notification bell to ensure you'll be notified when new videos go up.